Hi, we're Lydia and Wehan, and in our last video we talked about making the decision to quit our jobs and sell everything, including our home, to travel. And today we'll be explaining exactly what our plans are. Well, as you guys can see from the title,
we bought a van! You might be wondering, how did we get here? Well, after deciding to do full-time travel, we had to pick whether to go international or interstate.
While international was super appealing to us, COVID was at its peak when we were making this decision. And with so many uncertainties, interstate appealed to us more. At least if something went wrong, we were super close to be able to get home.
Going interstate also had other benefits, like not having to worry about visas or foreign currencies.
Or different languages and travel insurances.
We really wanted to simplify the whole process just while we're adjusting to full-time travel.
Australia is such a unique and beautiful country with so much to see and do. And even though we've lived here majority of our lives, we have barely explored our own country.
True.
And that's really what made us decide to do the full lap of Australia, starting anti-clockwise and going to southwest WA first, because we've been there on a short trip before, so it felt more familiar.
Now, if you don't know, Australia is pretty huge, and a lot of the cool spots that we wanted to visit at least are rural and hard to get to. So the only way to really do it properly is by driving everywhere. And besides, flying and booking accommodation would have been pretty expensive.
So expensive. So then we started debating, what vehicle do we want to travel around Australia in? Do we want a four-wheel drive with a rooftop tent? Do we want a caravan? Do we want a small camper van? Do we want a van? Do we want a bus? The opportunities were endless.
They were. And just so you know, we only looked at the bus very shortly because I can't imagine driving around in a bus.
Oh yeah.
It'd be so difficult. While we said open to the other options, we thought that we should get a van. Purely because it's more versatile and we want it to be 100% off-grid and non-reliant on paid campsites.
Because the cost of paid campsites can really add up.
And let's face it, some of the most amazing spots around Australia are at remote locations, and we really wanted a way to be able to get to them.
Even the spot we're at currently, we can stay here off-grid for a week, just enjoying the beach and not having to worry about anything.
It's absolutely amazing. We also really like the idea of being able to drive in the middle of the night and pulling up to a site and not have to worry about setting up a tent or a caravan. When
picking a van, we had 3 things that were really important to us. The first is a toilet.
Oh yeah, Lydia is one of those types of people who get up in the middle of the night for a wee.
Can you imagine being somewhere like, let's say a rest stop, and in the middle of the night you're getting out in the pitch black to pee? I feel like I'm having flashbacks to when we went on a trip down south.
I forgot about that.
And we drove to Bluff Knoll in the middle of the night and I needed a pee, so we pulled over at a rest stop and got destroyed by mosquitoes. And we were maybe out the car for like a minute max.
As soon as we got into the car again, there was like mosquitoes even in the car. It was ridiculous.
The second is cooking facilities. So I am celiac, which means we make majority of our meals from scratch so that we don't have to worry about cross-contamination. So we didn't want to sacrifice on our cooking facilities if we could help it.
Which, let's face it, it's also cheaper cooking for yourself, so win-win.
Win-win. And the third is a comfy bed. Since we were doing this full-time and we presumed the lap would take a couple of years, we didn't want to sacrifice on good sleep either. And we'd seen a lot of people with rooftop tents or with convertible beds or blow-up mattresses that said they really struggled with getting a good night's sleep.
And that's really important to us.
Side note, this lady drove on the beach behind us.
We're like, we'll stop recording for a second.
She let her dog out and the dog is chasing the car. What a way to get your dog to exercise.
I really took the time to design and plan out how the van build should be for us. I went through multiple iterations just to be sure that it was the right fit for us and that everything was perfect. And once we knew that we definitely wanted a van, the hunt for one started.
And we cannot emphasize how difficult the hunt for a van was. because WA's borders were closed, it felt like everyone in Western Australia was traveling Western Australia. So everyone wanted a van.
It was ridiculous. The demand for vans went through the roof, prices skyrocketed, and everything that was for sale just sold immediately.
It literally got to the point where we would be on our way driving to go and view a van, and we'd be maybe 5 minutes away, and the seller would message us and be like, oh yeah, it's sold. And this was even with us offering higher prices than the asking prices on the vans. It was so painful.
We even went as far as putting down deposits on vans over east. We were willing to go through the complex process of transporting one over and re-registering them in our state. It was extremely frustrating, and it really felt like we finally got control of our lives, and that control got ripped away from us by something that was out of our control.
Thankfully, we did end up getting a van, which is perfect. To put things into perspective, our house was officially sold and settled on the 5th of October 2021, and we bought our van on the 28th of January 2022. So almost 4 months of actively searching for one.
And that brings us to the exciting part. The van! And while the van that we got was more than we hoped to spend on a van, it was a newer model, which meant that it was more fuel efficient, reliable, and it just had lower kilometers on it. Another thing that I also wanted to add is that we were initially looking at one that's a 300 series, and we ended up getting one that's a 400 series, which means that it's capable of taking a heavier load, which gave me the peace of mind while doing the fit out.
So the van we got is a 2019 long wheelbase, high roof Mercedes Sprinter, and it's perfect. It even had a window in the spot we wanted and none anywhere else.
Which, if you don't know, a lot of the vans have windows everywhere. It's extremely frustrating. You see one pop up and you're like, yes, perfect, and then it has windows everywhere.
Like
and
the whole thing, which would make it difficult for the fit
out. That
out.
would make it so difficult for the fit out. Not only would it be hot, but it would be difficult for the fit out.
When we actually brought the van, it was an empty panel van because the previous owner was a delivery driver.
On the inside of the cargo area, the van was covered in a plywood lining, and the owner's daughter had drawn on this lining. It was really sentimental to them. So when we left with the van, just before we left with the van, they took pictures of it, and they were very sad about letting the van go.
It was really sweet. We were like, are you sure you don't want to take him? Because obviously we weren't going to keep it for the fit out. And look, the process buying a van from them wasn't 100% smooth. There were some things that happened, but maybe we'll save that story for another day. By the way, we should say that we did actually look at pre-built vans and were open to getting one, but the ones that were listed were selling instantly or were listed at really high prices and just didn't match our needs. We were so excited to finally have the van though. It was such a relief. But you know, standing in that empty cargo van and you're just looking around and you're like, what on earth have we gotten ourselves into?
And like we mentioned before, I had planned out 99% of the build, but it was still super overwhelming because there were so many uncertainties involved, and I was really struggling wrapping my head around things.
Wehan is super handy, and he is the only reason we were able to convert a van and actually do this, so shout out to you. But Wehan has never converted a van before. It was a whole new ball game.
And when we first got the van, we were both working full-time, only working on the van in our free times, on the weekends, or in the evenings. It really got to a point where Lydia was pestering me, telling me to cut back at work so that I can actually get the van done, because otherwise it will never get done.
And I was totally right. So Wehan started working pretty much full-time on the van from June, and I started working on it full-time from August. But I cannot take any credit for that because Wehan did majority of the van build before I got there, and I was just doing the sanding and the painting and those kinds of things.
All the pretty stuff. Well, actually, I do have to say you were also the emotional support. Like, it was Still very stressful moment, even towards the end when I was doing the plumbing and all the other little things. After Lydia quit her job, we both agreed that we needed to take a 2-week break away from the van. So we went to Sydney to reset and prepare ourselves for the final stretch.
We literally came back and were all hands on deck after that. And again, I cannot emphasize how challenging this build was, especially because we wanted to make sure we were doing everything properly and we're making sure it followed all Australian regulations and legalities. It was a trend this whole process where every step was harder than the last.
And I do have to say, more complicated.
Yeah.
I won't go on about how difficult the van build was. I just wanted to say that I am extremely grateful that we did it this way and we were thorough. Because not only do we have the perfect home on wheels for our needs, I also learned how to work with myself. And I think I can say this for both of us, but I think it also made us more grateful for each other. Lydia's support and the way that she kept me calm and on the right path is truly appreciated, and I'm gonna be forever grateful for how amazing she is.
Aw, Weenie! Van's just a straight up legend.
No.
Slowly the van was transformed into the beautiful home it is today, and on the 7th of November 2022 it was officially certified and approved and re-registered as a motorhome, and we can't wait to show you inside next video.